Good afternoon, everybody. Today is Wednesday, April 13th, 2022, and we are located in downtown Miami, right outside of the Frost Science Museum. Now, it is closed, but tonight we're going to be walking around downtown Miami and crossing over into Brickell, which is the financial district here in Miami. But tonight we're going to be talking about my experiences, my thoughts, and my opinions on the 2022 Bitcoin conference that I attended right here in Miami. Now, Bitcoin tends to be a very controversial topic, especially in the financial industry. Many people think it's a scam. Many people think that it's the greatest thing in the world. So we're going to try to find some objective arguments, argue for the good and the bad. And I will tell you guys my value propositions on why I have personally decided to, or continue to, uphold an asset allocation to Bitcoin. But today, in the equities markets, the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and Dow Jones Industrial Average all caught a bid today and closed in the green. So we will see who we have. We have Bowser's here. Hey, Bowser, good to see you. Sunshine, New York says, hey, Tom, good to see you. Felix, what's up, Felix? Says, hey, Tom, buenos noches, good to see you. Jane M says hello from Wisconsin. Good to see you, Jane. Hope everything is well. Chris Beeman says, hey, it's good to hear your voice, Tom. Good to see you, Chris. Yeah, it feels like it's been years since we've done a traditional live stream, but look, I'm feeling better. Things are going great. Beautiful weather here in Miami, probably about 82 degrees. Probably about 82 degrees. But Chris Beeman, good to see you. Sally is here, says, hey. Esteban says, hello, good evening, Tom. Good to see you, Esteban. Hemp Lords says, what's up, Tom? Chris Beeman, Sally, Daryl says, good evening from rainy Chicago, Illinois. Well, good to see you, Daryl. Hope you're doing well. Lewis says, good to see you live streaming. Good to see you, Lewis. And I see my friend Ruby Falcone. What's up? Good to see everybody. So I'm going to quickly show you around the, I guess you could call it like a patio here at the Frost Science Museum. This is one of my favorite spots. Very seldom do we come here, but this place is so clean, very cool, and maybe we'll have to stream during the day here. Hey, Bit of Wander is here. Good to see a Bit of Wander. NNB045 says, hey, Tom, it's been a while. It has. So I was a little bit under the weather last week. I was really only under the weather for about 2 days, but I really wanted to make sure that I wasn't going to get any progressively more sick, if that makes sense. So I thought I'd just, take it easy for a couple days, which turned into about 5 days, and I had a lot of writing to do. So if you guys want to check out the Behind the Street newsletter, I did a complete recap of the 2022 Bitcoin conference right here in Miami. It was just an unbelievable experience. I had the pleasure of talking to some real high profile people in finance. I got the chance to talk to some very notable hedge fund managers, pension fund managers. So if you want to check that out, if you type !news, NEWS in the chat, you could read my entire conference report from the Bitcoin. Hey, Tom, good to see you. Welcome. Sebastian is here. Lewis is very good, Tom, your newsletter. Thank you, Lewis. Thank you for reading. Much appreciated. I see Ruby Falcone. So the museum is now closed here, guys, but I'll just quickly show you the gift shop and all that stuff. Daryl says, Tom, have you seen Action Kid in person yet? Not in person yet, but I'm sure we will probably see him over the course of the couple days. My friend Out and About is here. Good to see you, Out and About. Hope you're well. Out and About is joining us from Toronto, Canada. So always good to see you. Let's see who else we have here. Humane says, glad you're feeling better, Tom. Hey, thank you, man. I appreciate that. Jay says, damn, it's good to see you, my friend. Good to see you too, Jay. Thank you for joining. I'm feeling much better, so thank you for that. Really much appreciated. Valentina, good to see you. Welcome. Bit of Wander. Tamara says, hey, Tom. Omar says, hola, good to see you. Bowser, welcome. And Hemp Lord. Michael D says, you should do a live stream with Action Kid. Yes, definitely we will. Jay says, love the newsletter. Well, thank you, Jay. Appreciate it. Yeah, I felt like the newsletter was a little bit longer, so I was debating on whether to send it out or make it a little bit shorter, but I really wanted to make sure I hit on the main three takeaways of the conference. Judy D is here, says, hey Tom, glad you're feeling better. Thank you, Judy, much appreciated. And my friend Penelope is here. What is up, Penelope? Says, hey Tom, glad you're feeling better. Good to see you. Thank you, thank you. So let's head back into the city. This is the Frost Science Museum. But in the newsletter, I really wanted to cover three main things. And I think these are the three most common value propositions in favor of Bitcoin that I heard from the conference. And I asked this same question to very notable asset managers, right? Michael Novogratz, which was a former managing director at Goldman Sachs, then went on to run a hedge fund, run billions of dollars at Fortress Investments, which is a unbelievably successful hedge fund in New York City. Now he has founded Galaxy Digital Assets, in which he essentially uses his company as an intermediary between the cryptocurrency world and institutional investors. I got a chance to speak with Michael Novogratz as well as Kathy Wood. And a lot of the institutional investors that I talked to and the money managers, they think the three main value propositions for Bitcoin is, number one, to really revolutionize the remittance market, right? So if we think about or we talk about remittance payments, that's really when, an immigrant will migrate to a specific country and then use their earnings to then send money back to their home country as a form of remittance. And that whole process right now can be extremely convoluted in some cases, and not all cases, but a lot of times if you want to send money back home, you can only do that in limited quantities at specific time frames, and you have to pay really egregious fees. With Bitcoin, it is completely permissionless, so I could send money whenever I want, to whomever I want, in any single quantity I want for fractions of a dollar. So there was an interesting article in CoinDesk, which I included in the Behind the Street newsletter. And the article was really outlining a specific notable Bitcoin transaction where somebody transferred $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. It took less than 3 minutes to send $1 billion around the world, and it costs less than $5. It's impossible to do that in traditional finance. So I just think the remittance market is one of the largest value propositions for Bitcoin. And a lot of the investors I talk to are thinking in a global macro picture, right? So it may not be applicable to people that live in the United States, but everywhere else, it's definitely going to be a big help. Cindy Foley, good to see you, Cindy, says love Miami. Joey is here, says hey Tom, what's up Joey? So guys, check out this view. I don't think we've ever been in, I think this is called Museum Park or Monument Park. I think it's Museum Park. But check out the view from here. So this is the very famous 1000 Museum Tower, and it actually has a helicopter pad on the top of the roof, which is insane. Hey, Roy S is here. Good to see you, Roy. Says, hey, Tom, hope you're feeling better. Hello, mods and everybody. I am. I'm feeling really good. Feeling all better. I was really all better a couple days ago, Roy, but I really wanted to make sure, I guess if that makes sense, that I was 100% better. But yeah, totally 100% better, so thank you for the well wishes. Ruby Falcone says, beautiful clouds in the background. I know. So this is my first night walking through this park, but the view is just unbelievable. So I'll try to step back a little bit so I could capture all the buildings with the palm tree in this shot. Hey, Mets fan 1023, good to see you, my friend. Hope you're well. I see Brian says, hey, Tom and everybody. Good to see you, Brian. Lewis says, I saw in the newsletter, yeah, so they sent about $1 billion worth of Bitcoin for $1. Which is really unheard of. I see Cindy Joey's here, good to see you. John says hi from Jamaica, good to see you, John. Hope you're well. So in the distance, if you look really closely in the distance, that's actually the Ferris wheel at 1000 Museum. I mean, the Ferris wheel, not at 1000 Museum. apologize, at Bayside Park. Check out the moon tonight. Brian says, beautiful view. Hey, James Tiger says, glad you're back. Jim from Chicago. Good to see you, Jim. Welcome, my friend. So, Jim, speaking of a gym, I actually saw my very good friend, Jim, which he's also in Chicago. And he runs a hedge fund, and he was also at the Bitcoin 2022 conference. So something I've noticed between the mid-size hedge funds, the mid-size hedge funds, there's probably anywhere between $150 million and $300 million. A lot of those mid-size guys that are running mid-size funds are actively in the process or have just set up cryptocurrency hedge funds or Bitcoin hedge funds right now and are actively raising money. So that's very interesting to hear. Very, very interesting to hear. And also, not just in relation to buying a crypto asset or buying Bitcoin or buying Ethereum. A lot of these institutional investments are getting private placements into actual companies that deal in the cryptocurrency space. So there's actually a lot of publicly traded miners, so Bitcoin and cryptocurrency miners that are trading on the New York Stock Exchange in the open market right now, in which case they're going public. So if you don't feel comfortable owning the outright asset of Bitcoin, you can sort of get exposure to the cryptocurrency space by owning stocks or companies that are publicly traded that deal in Bitcoin and crypto. Lewis says, Tom, why in the newsletter you think Bitcoin will not impact the US economy as the one in the developing countries? Why dollar will decrease the impact? So it's not that I think that it's not going to impact the US economy. My biggest takeaway is that, the United States is already a developed world, right? Canada, the UK, these are all developed nations. So if you think about from a banking standpoint, I'm from New York City or New York State, and I can pretty much walk into any street corner and find a bank. Excuse me, I gotta get some water. And find a bank, right? But across the world, that's really not the case, and we don't really think about it. So I think the way I wrote the newsletter, Lewis, to answer your question, is thinking about Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies from a global macro perspective, right? I think if you've grown up in the United States or you've grown up in Canada, you tend to think about these cryptocurrencies as very dismissive. Oh, I don't need Bitcoin. Why do I need that? Because we've had the privilege to grow up in an industrious economy that isn't, run by authoritarian dictatorship, that is in a hyperinflationary collapse. But about only 13% of the world, so only 13% of the world's population actually has had the luxury of growing up in a country globally where they're not either in an authoritarian regime or the country is in a hyperinflationary collapse or in a hyperinflationary currency. So I think emerging market countries really need Bitcoin or have more of a value proposition for Bitcoin as opposed to the United States, right? Our government is relatively not corrupt. I know that the United States government is corrupt, but in comparison on a relative basis to other countries out there, other governments out there are way, way more corrupt than the US government. And I think that's why a lot of people flee to the dollar. So even though the dollar is a fiat currency, and it will surely go to zero over time, as all fiat currencies do, on a relative basis, the US dollar is always going to provide that global stability. So I think the biggest impact for Bitcoin is going to be in emerging market countries. And I think that's a good thing. And I think it's going to keep governments on their toes, because the biggest value proposition, I think, about Bitcoin is it's unconfiscatable, right? It's unconfiscatable money. And if we think about what happened in Cyprus in 2013, if you had over 100,000 euros or $100,000 in your bank account, the government just said, Anything over $100,000, we're taking it to help bail out the country. I mean, that's theft. And with Bitcoin, you can't do that. Hey, I see Samantha J here. Good to see you, Samantha J. Hope you're well. Chris Beeman says, wow, this view is lovely. Yeah, it's a beautiful night here, Chris. Very beautiful night. Hey, War Walker's here. Says, sending a plane your way. What's up, War Walker? Good to see you. The Bandit says, chill night. Good to see you, The Bandit. Miss Brown Eyes is here. Says, hello, everybody. Be safe and always be aware of your surroundings. Appreciate that, Miss Brown Eyes. Very, very much. Yes, Forever 18 says, I see Bitcoin as a derivative to the actual currency. Cryptocurrency may grow your money, but also actual stock like Robinhood and Tesla. Interesting thought there, actually. Good to see you. Samantha J says, glad you're back, Tom. Good to see you, Samantha J. Warwalker says, horrible cough, Tom. Lay off the blunts. I will lay off the blunts. Santo says, always good to see you. Good to see you, Santo. Roy S, Penelope. Yeah, welcome everybody. So we are going to head back into the city. I think there's either a basketball game or a concert going on. So we will head back into the main downtown. James says, how do you like Dominion Energy? So I personally don't own the stock, but if you think about a company like Dominion or Occidental Petroleum, I think the ticker symbol is OXY or Oxy. Those tend to be the companies or the stocks that are leading this market. Unfortunately, you know, my type of stocks, the innovative growth, the enterprise software, these stocks are not in gear. And that's just the reality of it. They're not in gear yet. And I really don't want to style drift. I'm not a big oil trader. That's not my area of expertise. My area of expertise is evaluating enterprise software companies and other disruptive industries. But definitely stocks like Occidental Petroleum and anything with exposure to energy or oil has done really well. But good to see you, James. S is here, says this is a great topic. Good to see you, S. Hey, Gene is here, says hello, Tom. Hope you're having a good week. Thank you so much. Diana says, glad you are feeling better. Please stay healthy. Thank you. Much appreciated, Diana. Yes, Forever 18 says everything with both good and bad, black and white. I see cryptocurrency is the same thing. I do too. I do too. I'm not sure if you guys could hear the water, but it's so calming. Jay says, I saw your software at the doctor's office Monday. Good to see you, Jay. Tony Jones says, I see Robinhood finally took on Shiba Inu. Good to see you, Tony. Lewis is Tom, but if I have to turn my $160,000 US dollars into Bitcoin and tomorrow the value fluctuates, then I can have 170K US dollars or 100K US dollars. Would that person from Cyprus feel secure for 160K US dollars? So I definitely understand where you're coming from there in terms of the volatility of the asset. So this is sort of the way I think about it. So I'll just tell you what my exact allocation is. 10%, I'm up to 10%. So 10% of my net worth, so whatever my net worth is, I won't disclose, 10% of that number will always be into Bitcoin specifically, not any of the other cryptocurrencies, but Bitcoin specifically because of this value proposition alone, which resonated with me. Number one, it is unconfiscatable, meaning governments can't confiscate it. Nobody could garnish your bank account or your wages, because if you own your Bitcoin and you store it in what's called a cold wallet or a paper wallet, and you know your private key, only you know that private key. So governments physically cannot take it. And I don't have to ask permission to anybody to move my money around the world wherever I want. I could send all of my Bitcoin to Zimbabwe tonight if I want. It's going to cost me almost no money. And I don't have to have any permission with that. So that's the value proposition for me. So I think about it more as like an insurance product, right? If you buy health insurance, I'm sure everybody has health insurance, I hope. You pay $300, $400 a month, whatever it is, and you pray to God you don't get sick. But if you do get sick, you're not going to be bankrupt, right? You're not going to be bankrupt. So for me, I feel that, let's say if I buy Bitcoin or I dollar cost average and maintain that 10% weighting, and I'm down technically 20% on the investment, the way I think about it is that 20% is providing me with a permissionless system to operate however I want, move my money around the world whenever I want, with no intermediary or no permission from anyone, and nobody could confiscate it from me. And I think that's worth the increased volatility. So when you're managing a portfolio, it's called beta weighting, right? So you want to beta weight your portfolio to your needs or your liking, right? So some people will say, hey, I have a huge diversified portfolio. I own Alphabet, I own Microsoft, and I own Apple. Well, that's not a diversified portfolio. You may have multiple stocks in that portfolio, but they're not diversified because they're all in the same sector. They all have the same beta, so they'll technically move in lockstep. So as a portion of my portfolio, I'm comfortable with the increased volatility because I get those factors back. And you may not agree with that, but for me personally, I think that is the value proposition for me. Hey, Wendy England is here. Says, welcome back, Tom. Good to see you, Wendy. So here's another shot up close of 1000 Museum. Good to see you, Wendy England. Bernard Friedman says, hey, Tom. Good to see you, Bernard. Cloudmaker says, Bitcoin to 1 million. Why not 1 billion, says Cloudmaker. So Cloudmaker, so if we want to talk about price targets for Bitcoin, the way I've thought about it is in terms of smartphone adoption around the world. And the reason why I think about it like this is for a multifaceted reason. Number one, if you think about traditional institution, a traditional banking institution, a very, very small portion of the world actually has access to that. So if you think about it on a global macro scale, and this is something that I noticed a direct correlation when I was talking to institutional investors at the Bitcoin conference. Almost every single investor I talked to at the Bitcoin conference was a macro-based trader or investor. So think about that for a second. All of these guys were macro guys, right? The Stanley Druckenmillers of the world, the people, the Paul Tudor Jones, that see investment theses from a big picture perspective. So understanding that, look, in the United States, we may not have a great use case for Bitcoin because we have a relatively stable society and a stable currency. But did you know that cell phone adoption or smartphone adoption in emerging markets is actually at a faster breakneck trend than it was in the United States and the United Kingdom? So you can have people in emerging market countries that have no jobs, that are homeless, but they have a smartphone. And if you think about that, where am I going with that? Where I'm going with that is your smartphone is your bank, right? Your smartphone is your bank. I could download Cash App, I could download PayPal, I could download MoneyGram, I could download a Bitcoin wallet, be completely homeless on the street, but have access to financial transactions because we're living in a new world. So it's not like, I'm coming down from my Manhattan office and I go see my banker at JP Morgan Chase. I think the trend or the industry trend is going towards mobile payments, right? So that is my macro bet. I look at smartphone adoption in the United States and try to create duplicity in that growth trend in emerging markets and say, okay, if the majority of the world is underbanked, if the vast majority of the world is either underbanked or non-banked, but they have access to a smartphone, now that's a fintech play. And it may not be Bitcoin, but what if just 2 or 3% of all the transaction volume of people that are underbanked or banked utilize the Bitcoin network? That's a hell of a lot of money. That's a hell of a lot of money. But that's a great question. Hey, Lady O is here. Good to see you, Lady O. Lady O is our moderator from the one and only New Jersey. Good to see you. Roy S says mobile payments or digital wallets is not synonymous with uses of Bitcoin. Yeah, you're right. It's not. But I think the thesis there is, could you imagine if just 1% of all the transaction volume on mobile payments falls into some sort of cryptocurrency environment? So the reason why I say that is, think about a company like Cash App, right? The vast majority of transaction volume on Cash App does not go into Bitcoin at all, to your point, Roy, and you're 100% right. But a small portion of it does. And magnify that across the global macro scale. So if you're thinking about it from an investment thesis or a store of value thesis or, you know, a sort of Armageddon play, you're not interested in having a total market share capture because the global economy is so massive. What if you could just capture a small fraction of that? And I think a small fraction of all of that transaction will go into Bitcoin and other crypto assets. But that's a good point. It's a great point. Gregory's here, says, hey Tom, good to be back on your streams. Good to see you, Gregory, as always. We are out here looking at the Paramount building. Jean says, beautiful free is here, says, hello friends, good to see you, Ren. Blanket Brittany Jagstar 72 is here, says, hey Tom, good to see you. Penelope says, Tom, kind of spooky like a graveyard. The bones are there and they are deep, but we are scared of ghosts. Good to see you, Penelope. Jay says, so do you think Bitcoin is a younger generation thing or is older generation investing in Bitcoin? So that's a good question as well. I think that, again, going back to my emerging market thesis, I think you have a lot of mobile and cellular device adoption with younger people. And so Pew Research did a study, and Pew Research says that 75% of all internet searches and utilization by 2025 will happen on a smartphone. Not a computer, not a tablet, on a smartphone. Because that is where everybody consumes their content. Again, going back to my point about, you know, if you go to a very, very poor country, you're still going to find people that have access to a smartphone, which is kind of crazy to think about. So I think in terms of a traditional banking sense, right, your JP Morgans, your Goldman Sachs, your Citis, they are not built for mobile. They're not. So those legacy financial institutions are not going to be able to have as deep of a penetration rate as some of these other fintech companies, right? So maybe it's not just a bullish thesis on Bitcoin as a whole, but other publicly traded fintech companies, right? If you can build the infrastructure in a mobile application to transact, pay, and even save on a mobile device, you're going to crush traditional banking. Hey, Jonathan is here. What's up, Jonathan? This is good evening, Tom. Good to see you. But in terms of like older people investing, now hold on, just let me put one thing away. I have my other phone out. I don't know why. So if we think about Bitcoin right now, it's a $700 billion asset. So think about that. Bitcoin is a $700 billion asset, and it got there pretty much with all retail involvement. And you may say, well, there's some hedge funds and some private family offices that are investing into Bitcoin, but pretty much nothing. $150 million hedge fund. Yes, that's technically considered an institutional investor, but if you think about the land grab or the giant ocean of money, that's really in the pension funds and sovereign wealth funds, right? So you could say, oh, institutional investors are buying Bitcoin, and you could say, oh, this $150 million hedge fund in Chicago, this $500 million hedge fund in New York. Yeah, I guess, but if you really want to talk about the Mac Daddy of institutions, those are the sovereign wealth and those are the pension funds. And right now, and Kevin O'Leary mentioned this, and so did Orlando Bravo mention this in their keynote speech, the reason why they're not invested is because of lack of regulatory clarity from the SEC. Once there is some sort of regulatory clarity around investing into that asset class, you're going to see some sort of an allocation. And this isn't billions of dollars. Sovereign wealth funds run trillions of dollars. Trillions. But if you guys want to check that out, in the newsletter, I actually put a link to Kevin O'Leary's keynote speech, and it was really, really well done. Oh, I think we got a train coming. It was really, really well done, outlining the risks of regulation, but also the benefits of having a true regulated market for Bitcoin. Ed Dunkel says, it'll be great when CalPERS buys Bitcoin. Yeah, so CalPERS is the California State Pension Fund. You're right. Good to see you, Ed. Ruby Falcone, good to see you. So I wonder if we have any train fans in the chat. Oftentimes I'll get emails of people that are obsessed with drawbridges and trains, and they'll be like, you gotta go to this spot and film this train or this drawbridge. So hopefully one of you guys are actually watching the chat right now. Hey, XOXX. You know what? I mean, this doesn't really look all that safe, though. I mean, to have the train like right next to all the people, I think they should probably elevate it. Hey, Disney cast member, what's up? Good to see you. Yes, Forever 18 says crypto account can be hacked. So does your bank account. As long as cryptocurrency with the system to deal with cybercrime, crypto can be safe too. Durman, good to see you. Welcome. Train in the middle of Miami. I think they should probably elevate the train. That's Cynthia Beale. Gene, the railroad stocks are actually doing pretty good. Disney cast member, good to see you. Gene, Cynthia Beale, welcome. Roy S. Hey, Mark D says, hey Tom, great to see you, bud. You're getting so many followers now, and you deserve it. Hey, thank you, Mark. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Hey, Bernard Friedman, welcome. So I'm not sure what event is going on here at the FTX Arena, but I wonder if somebody could Google it real quick. Wendy England says, Tom, it's easier to put bridges over trains than to elevate them. I guess you're right. Yeah, it seems like this train is going on forever. Look at this.
Hey, you realize all the ugly girls are standing outside still. You see that?
Hey. XOXX Bob, good to see you. Yeah, so Bob says the Port of Miami is one of the largest cargo ports on the East Coast. You know, it's kind of crazy thinking about the supply chain problem we have in this country and seeing all the craziness off the coast of Los Angeles. Insane. Disney cast member says it's a Justin Bieber concert. Is it really? Wow. I'm a big fan of the Bieber. I think he's a great guy. SME Media says Justin Bieber is bringing his Justice World Tour to the FTX Arena on Wednesday, April 13th, 2022. Wow, I didn't know that. That's awesome. You know, I won't comment on it. All right, I will comment on it. I feel like a lot of celebrities in general, and I think for good reason, I think a lot of them go crazy, but I think that Bieber is one of the only ones that has stayed relatively normal. And he seems like a pretty nice, genuine guy. Gregory says we are here for hot takes. Funny. Hey, Tatiana Oliviera is here. Good to see you. Gene, welcome. Yes, Forever 18 says the train in downtown is not an ideal choice, but Miami is under sea level. Yeah, you're right. Well, here's the thing. In Long Island, I'm not sure if there's any Long Islanders in the chat, but I do know Disney cast member is a fellow Long Islander. So all of the to be on the ground. I'm not sure if anybody remembers that, but a lot of them used to be, especially on the Babylon line, they all used to be on the ground. But unfortunately, a lot of people were getting hit by cars. Idiots were trying to drive through the train signals and through the train tracks. And people were unfortunately killing themselves too and committing suicide. So they took the, They took the initiative to actually raise a lot of the tracks. And that stopped a lot of the suicides as well. Hey, Robert Bakers is West Islip. Good to see you. Welcome, Robert. Hey, the Mighty Bull says, good evening, Tom. Good to see you. Good to see you as well. Hey, the ABX girl says, in Florida is flat. That's why New York people like to run races there. Good to see you. Ruby says, Justin Bieber has matured and is married now. You know what, that's interesting. So, Yes Forever says, I think New York City is, I don't think so. I think Miami is lower. I think there's some parts of New York that may be a little bit less below sea level than Miami. But surprisingly, Hoboken, New Jersey is really bad. Hoboken, New Jersey is really, really bad for being below sea level. Out and About says, Bieber had his moments, late teens. He was all over the media misbehaving. Now he is following religion. Well, yeah, I mean, the kid was a superstar at like 15 years old, worth 100, 200 million bucks. So, I mean, for his circumstances, I think he turned out good for the circumstances. And I think, yeah, that's my take on it. Bob says Miami is at sea level and its highest. Hey, Thomas says, do you work remotely? That's why you're in Miami and New York? Yeah, so the majority of time I do work remote, but the good news is I've been getting out and seeing a lot more clients lately, which is actually really good. So the vast majority of my clients are actually located in New York City, but I'm trying to build a clientele base down here. So, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I'm kind of sick of remote. I don't know, maybe it's just me. So here we are outside the Bayside Marketplace. Hey, Thomas says, I lived in both places, but now mostly New York. Awesome, love New York. Hey, Durman says, what do you think about what happened in Brooklyn? I think it's horrible. I think what happened in Brooklyn is horrible, but supposedly they caught the guy who committed the crime. Is that correct? Photos from around New York says, we are back. Good to see you, photos. Cutler Brady says, when will you be back in New York? Pretty soon, very soon. I don't disclose the exact dates I'm going places anymore. Thomas says, yes, they got him, they caught him, okay. So, I mean, here's the most peculiar thing about that incident. I don't really want to harp on it too much, but, I mean, it seems like he shot so many people, but nobody died. So was he trying to kill people, or was he just trying to severely injure people? Or was it just an absolute miracle by God that nobody died? I mean, I think a lot of people in the chat are New Yorkers here. So, I mean, you've ridden the train, and during rush hour, it's packed. So imagine having a guy with a gun standing next to you on the train. I mean, how do you it's like impossible not to kill somebody. It's weird. Durman says, I think it was a smoke bomb. Lady O says he gassed the station so he couldn't see what he was shooting. I got it. Middle class says, you prefer Miami over New York City? I guess it just depends on the time of year. Just depends on the time of year. If it's winter, I definitely prefer Miami, but in the summer, I think I'm going to prefer New York. Disney cast member says the guy had a lengthy criminal history and records in 5 states. Yeah, I mean, to me, that's just what upsets me the most. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I don't want to comment on that because I'm going to go on a big tirade. But I mean, it's just like we're asking for it, man. It's just ridiculous. But, and I mean, it seems like it's every time, right? You turn on the news, and it's like, oh, random guy slashes a bunch of people in Manhattan. Random guy, beats this poor lady with the baseball bat. And they're like, oh, he has 5 prior arrests. He has 10 priors. I'm like, what do you think these people are going to do? I mean, if you just catch and release them, it's just ridiculous. Wow, Lady O's like it was 72 in New Jersey today. That's fantastic. So this is called the Torch of Friendship here. This is right outside of Bayside Marketplace. But just as a quick reminder to everybody, I did send out the Behind the Street newsletter where I did a complete and total recap of the 2022 Bitcoin conference. So I had the pleasure of seeing Michael Novogratz speak, Kathy Wood, Michael Saylor. I was front row and center for much of it. I wish I could have live streamed it a little bit more, but I was a little bit under the weather. But if you want to know my thoughts and a complete recap from the conference, from speaking to some of the most notable institutional investors on the planet, if you type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat, you'll be able to read it and all my thoughts on the event. Yeah, out and about, I saw that. You were telling me about that. You just got to watch your back. Today's world is insane, everybody. Hey, Ruby Falcone says there is a Torch of Friendship in San Antonio as well. Very cool. Disney cast member says walks on Wall Street. What infuriates me as well is that domestic violence is considered a misdemeanor. Yeah, that's insane. Well, here's the thing about domestic violence. And so I think I told everybody before, but Before I went into enterprise tech sales, I was actually going to be a police officer in the NYPD. And the most dangerous calls to go on as a police officer is domestic disputes. Did anybody know that? That's the most dangerous call to go on, is a domestic dispute or a domestic incident. Because you'll be having a fight between a husband or a wife, or a mother and their son, or a mother and their daughter, and the police officers get caught up in the mix, and oftentimes they unfortunately pass away. It's horrible. Gavin K, I'm not too sure about that. Jay, good to see you. Welcome. Hey, Durman says those 2 cops got killed in a domestic dispute in the Bronx or Harlem. Yeah, it's horrible. It's terrible. Yeah, Cynthia Beale says, yeah, domestic disputes are dangerous. The ABX girl, good to see you. The Mighty Bull, is always good to see you, my friend. Al, good to see you. Santo. Hey, Smee Media says, I hope you get to feeling better soon. I'm pretty much all better. I'm good now, but thank you for asking. Really, really appreciate that. Hey, Manthony18 says, good job on the newsletter, Tom. Thank you so much, Manthony. Really, really appreciate that. So I think the biggest highlight of the conference to me was all of the data points that I learned about the regulatory approach to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Because if we think about, Bitcoin alone as an asset class, it's a $700 billion asset class that essentially got to its market capitalization by only retail adoption and other people using it, right? Just for intermediaries, remittances, transactions, store of value. Very, very few institutional investors have allocated client capital. And if you want to talk about, a $150 million fund or a $500 million hedge fund, on the grand scheme of finance, that's actually not where the big money is. The big money is the sovereign wealth. The big money is the pension funds. And until there's regulatory clarity from the SEC, until we have bipartisan approach to regulating Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, you're not going to see much of that money flow in there. But if we do have conclusive legislation around stable coins, around Bitcoin, I think you're going to see, in terms of the $200 trillion treasury market, or the debt market, and the cash market, that's a $200 trillion market. So if you think about the majority of the world's debt, or the majority of the bonds, are negative yielding assets. I guess you shouldn't call them an asset if it's negative yielding. But that's essentially dead money, and a lot of pension funds and sovereign wealth funds have to allocate towards fixed income. And the majority of fixed income out there is negative yielding assets or negative yielding debt. So you're essentially losing money automatically. If we get the appropriate regulatory oversight, could you imagine if just 5% of that $200 trillion fixed income and cash market flows into Bitcoin? I mean, you just do the math. I mean, if it's at a $700 billion market cap now, and if we can actually work with the regulators, the Republicans and Democrats can come together and regulate this thing in a normal way, I think not only will the price of Bitcoin and other digital assets over time increase, but the United States, and this is most important, the United States will remain the leader in innovation in blockchain technology. And I think China made the biggest mistake of their lifetime, and I think they're going to regret it, when they banned Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining. So if you look at all the hash power, the hash rate of Bitcoin mining, ever since China banned it, they literally shipped all of their miners overseas to other countries. And I think China essentially gave up their most valuable asset. because capital is not going to want to formulate in a place like China where they're outright banning things. So I think Western nations like the United States, maybe we'll go this way. I think Western nations like the United States, Canada, and the UK could really use this to capitalize to attract the best and brightest minds, the best software engineers, the best tech guys, and the best engineers from all over the world, and suck all of that talent out of dictatorships and authoritarian regimes like you have in Russia and China. Hey John, good to see you, my friend. Al Berg says China effed up. Yeah, I mean, I think that is going to go down in history as one of the biggest blunders, the biggest mistakes in history is China banning cryptocurrency mining and Bitcoin mining. Because all of that talent is going to leave China and go somewhere else. Disney cast member says there's no place like Long Island. Love Long Island. Cloudmaker says hopefully more people will be trading crypto rather than crack and will lead to less violent America. Interesting. Yeah, another scary thing that's going on, I mean, are you guys seeing all of these big C lockdowns? I know we're not really allowed to talk about it on YouTube, or else we'll get taken down. But the lockdowns in China are just scary. Like really, really scary. Yeah, photos from around New York says Long Island equals Strong Island. Good to see your photos. Beautiful lobby here. Hey John says stream is looking sharp. Thank you, John. Much appreciated. This lobby is beautiful. Check it out. Thomas DeMarco says major lockdowns. Hey Lady O says Tom, I'll be in Montauk for Easter. Nice. Montauk is really, really beautiful. So here we have the Aston Martin building, which is not yet complete, but it is going to be complete relatively soon, and it is going to be amazing here. Hey, a guy in Back Bay says, love the stream, good to see you. So this is the Aston Martin residences. This is what it's going to look like in the Miami skyline. It's going to glow bright white. Let's see if they'll tell us how much this costs. I don't think they have any pricing up, unfortunately. Hey, Durman says, Tom, I just came back from New York City, and the One Summit building is a must. Go at night, you won't regret it. Ooh, I have to go to one of the observation decks. I haven't been to one since I was like a little kid. Yeah, Cynthia Beal says, Tom, I saw a video of people in tall buildings screaming in the lockdown in Shanghai. It's insane. It's horrible. You know, and I think the Biden administration issued a warning to all U.S. citizens that are living in China to get out, which was concerning to me. I mean, they must know something. I mean, it's just wild, because if you look at the places with the harshest lockdowns, they tend to have the highest case numbers. And I think, contrary to what a lot of people think, I actually think the United States did a pretty good job with controlling it. I think, aside from a few like blatant blunders by some governors and things like that, but I think in terms of around the world, being how populous the United States is and how diverse our society. Yeah, we're live. Yeah. Say hi to the viewers. We will. Based upon how large the population and the density in the United States, I actually think we did a relatively good job in comparison to a lot of the other countries around the world. Hey, Lizzie Hatch is here. Says, hey everybody, have a blessed night. Good to see you, Lizzie. Welcome. So this is the Intercontinental Hotel right here, and you could actually see the, I guess it's called the Metro Mover here. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's up? This is currently audio, the Bitcoin Standard. Yes, so I actually met the author of the Bitcoin Standard. I got to ask him some questions. He's fantastic. So I think if anybody not only wants to learn about Bitcoin, but wants to also learn about the history of fiat currency, you got to read that book. And I think that's why the Bitcoin Standard and the Fiat Standard are the two best books to read, because it's not just shilling Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies the entire time. It's actually giving you a conclusive, comprehensive, very well researched piece about fiat currencies since the beginning of time, how they come about, how they go to zero, dictatorial regimes. It's just very, very well researched book, the Bitcoin Standard. Hey, British Grey, what's up? British Grey is joining us from Tampa, Florida. Good to see you, British Grey. Photos from around New York, welcome, good to see you. And we have the one and only Sunshine After Rain. Good to see you, Sunshine After Rain, as always. Hope you're well. Durman says Philadelphia is telling its people that mask mandates inside are mandatory again. So I did see that. I did see that Philadelphia is mandating the mask mandate again. It should be interesting to see if New York City follows through. We'll see. Wow, this lobby looks extremely clean in here. Hey, Jose says good evening. Good to see you, Jose. Good to be back. Sunshine After Rain, good to see you. Elaine says, hey, Tom, good evening. Good to see you, Elaine. Hope you're well. Lizzie Hatch says, Tom, the president of El Salvador is using Bitcoin. Yeah, so he was supposedly supposed to be at the conference, but I believe there is an absolute crazy gang war that is going on in El Salvador, so he could not attend. So it's really heartbreaking what's going on over there in terms of the gang violence. Brad's Brain says, I'll be asking for a follow-up read as I try to immerse a bit into Bitcoin knowledge. Brad's Brain sounds like a good idea. So where are we at now, guys? We are Southeast 3rd Avenue here in downtown Miami. And we will make a left right here at the Starbucks here. So if we continue to walk down here, we'll hit into the Whole Foods. Hey, Gary says, hey, Tom, great to hear you. Gary, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, XOXX Bob, so Bitcoin is now made legal tender in El Salvador, so it is legal tender. I'm gonna try to cross the street here. Lizzie Hatch, good to see you. Hope you're well. Jose, good to see you. All right, we should be good to cross. You know, another just quick fact, I guess a quick note, a takeaway from the conference is I was talking to one hedge fund manager in particular, and I wrote about this in the Behind the Street newsletter. So if you want to learn more, check out the newsletter. And this hedge fund manager, his thesis, or what he wants to do with Bitcoin, is accumulate a large amount over time and then collateralize it to leverage to buy real estate. And I was talking to a CEO of a company that actually is based right here in Miami that issues home loans or mortgages that are backed by Bitcoin. So this particular hedge fund manager, he's like, what if my hedge fund or my personal account can accumulate Bitcoin and then down the line either, number one, lend it out in decentralized finance and make a yield off of that, or I could just collateralize my Bitcoin. I don't have to touch any of my stocks. I don't have to touch any of my... Yo!
What's up?
Dude, what's up?
Hey!
Do you mind being
we
like...
meet for the first
Hey,
time.
so we got Action Kid here, my
Yeah.
friend. What's up, man?
I'm on my way to Hope. I didn't expect you.
Oh, really? Dude,
Oh,
nice. Are you streaming tonight?
No, I'm not.
No, not tonight.
Yeah.
But dude, it's good to meet you in person
Yeah,
again,
I
man.
know.
Dope. Yeah, we gotta link up and stream Wynwood or
Yeah,
something
for
like that.
sure.
But dude, how was your trip to Boston? Was it good?
Yeah, very nice.
Fantastic, man. Love to hear it.
Yeah.
That sucks that the deal fell through, but you're gonna get another one.
Yeah.
You just gotta stay in the market, and I think you'll find a good investment property. But
right.
dude, Action Kid, good to see you. Guys, please check out our friend Action Kid, fellow New Yorker, moved down to Florida. Great guy, very knowledgeable, great stream. One of the best streamers on YouTube. Check him out, Action Kid, right here.
Oh, yeah.
Good to see you, man. Thank you. And we'll link up and we'll stream soon.
Yeah, right.
But thank you, man. So guys, we ran into the one and only AK. The one, the only. Yeah, so Action Kid is a fellow New Yorker, a fellow streamer, one of the largest streamers here. And I actually think he lives down here now in this area. I'm not too sure where. But I definitely do think that he acquired either a piece of property or is renting something here. So that's fantastic. So please check out our pal, AK. That was awesome to run into our pal, AK. Yeah, Bob says that was cool. Isn't that crazy? Insane. War Walker says you exchange numbers. Yes, we have already in the past. I'm debating on whether we should go up Brickell Avenue or not. You know, we'll go this way and to the left because I want to show you guys the Riverwalk. Hey, EBITDA says, hey Tom, how's it going? Good to see you, EBITDA. Hope you're having a good week so far. Buy the Book says AK is cool, great guy. War Walker says he's going to Whole Paycheck or Whole Foods, yeah. Rich says hi all, good to see you, Rich. 444 Truth Teller says AK is the man, love that dude, agreed. Lady O says love it, 2 New Yorkers in Florida, I know. You know, supposedly there's another streamer, originally born and raised in New York, that streams in Florida. I think he's called the Barefoot Walker or the Barefoot Vlogger. I think he's a New Yorker. I think he's from Long Island or something like that, or Brooklyn. I forget. But yeah, what is this saying about Miami, Florida? It's the 6th borough in New York or something like that? Lizzie Hatch says interest rates are rising now, started to refinance at 3%, trying to pull out equity from the home, now almost at 5.67%, almost 6%. Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, so, and I think a lot of the rate hikes. So number one, we have two sort of problems that are going on. Number one is the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates. And supposedly they're supposed to taper asset purchases or stop asset purchases altogether. And one of the ways that interest rates stay artificially suppressed is through the Federal Reserve buying bonds or mortgage-backed securities and U.S. Treasuries. So if we understand that bond yields move inverse to the price of bonds, so yields move inverse to the actual price of bonds, if the Federal Reserve continuously buys bonds, I think we got to go this way to go around the block here. If the Federal Reserve continues to buy bonds, it's going to suppress those rates. But when the Federal Reserve no longer puts a bid in the bond market, rates are going upward at the same time when the Federal Reserve is actually raising interest rates. But, you know, I think the Federal Reserve could be a lot more aggressive in raising rates. I think we got a 50 basis point rate hike. You know, during the Paul Volcker days, you know, they really took that thing to the moon. So it could be a lot worse, and I think that's why we've been seeing a lot of these very high beta speculative tech stocks really getting creamed because of the rising rate environment. Shop by Scott, what's up? We got a full house here. Shop by Scott. So I lost my Wynwood spot just like that. So we got to do a meetup stream. Oh, I think we got to go the other way. This is closed off. We got to do a meetup stream with AK, Shop by Scott in Wynwood, and we could have a private tour of Wynwood with Shop by Scott because he really knows all the spots there, being that he is a photographer. And Wynwood is the art district. I guess you can call it the art district, right? But good to see you, Shop by Scott. Bob says, Tom, New York Times declared Miami as the 6th borough back in the 1930s. In an editorial piece, Miami was founded by New Yorker Henry Flagler. Wow. Interesting. I didn't know that. Did not know that. So Flagler, I think, is a street. I think there's Flagler Street here, isn't there? And I think the only time I've been to Flagler Street was during the NFT week, which was a couple months ago, I think. So let me know if you guys could hear the wind noise, because it is so windy here, but I do have the microphone. So hopefully that is blocking out the majority of the wind noise. Yes, forever. It says Philadelphia is also considered to be the 6th borough in New York City. Very cool. Yes, Forever 18 says New Yorker to Miami, California to Hawaii. Alberg says no wind. That's insane. Yeah, we do have the microphone tonight, which is a good thing because the wind is insane. I'd say it's probably 25 mile an hour winds, maybe more, like 30 mile an hour winds maybe. So if you look across the water, I believe this is called Brickell Key, at least I think. We'll get to check it out a little bit more up close. Hey, Braz here. Good to see you, my friend. Yeah, this place always tends to have really, really nice cars outside. Bra says, guys, I can't decide whether moving to Dubai or Miami. I currently live in New York City. Where should you go? I would definitely say stay in the United States. Because here's the thing, when you move to Miami, it's essentially the same thing as like living in New York, just a little bit better weather. And if you ever miss New York, you spend $50 and it's 2.5 hours on a plane and you're right back in New York City. Hey, Alex is here. Says, have you seen Action Kid in Miami? Yeah, we just ran into him about 15 minutes ago. He was walking to the Whole Foods. That was the first time we ran into each other in person. Yeah, Penelope, you're right. I think you're right. Wendy England says Dubai sandstorms will blow you away. So I think the microphone mutes the sound of my voice a little bit, mainly because I have the wind suppressor on there. But if we didn't have the wind suppressor, I don't think we'd even be able to stream. It's so windy. So if you look straight ahead, you'll actually see the W Hotel, which is a very, very famous hotel here. You know, and I just found out they also have a W Hotel in South Beach, in which case I went to an event, an after party at the Bitcoin 2022 conference. I had no idea there was an additional W Hotel here. Bra says, thanks, I am actually considering Miami more than Dubai, since Miami's weather is mostly tropical and nice. Yeah, and I think me personally, I'd want to stay in the United States. I mean, I'm sure Dubai is a beautiful place, but I'd rather stay in the United States. Wow, photos from around New York. So, like, there's a W Hotel in New Jersey that casts a bright red light over the Hudson River. Wow, I didn't know that. Juicy says, are you moving to Miami? So I moved here about 4 or 5 months ago. I think it's been more than that. I think it's been about half a year now. Shot by Scott's like, Tom, sounds like you're feeling better. Yeah, so I've been better for like a couple days, but I wanted to make sure I'm like 100% better because I hate being sick. I'm very seldom am I sick. Roy S, I did. I got so this company, in which case I'm actually going to be writing an article. It's called Ballet. They make hardware cold storage wallets. I got a 24 karat gold wallet to hold Bitcoin. So thank you to them for that. Thank you so much. Appreciate the product. Bra says, what I love from Miami is the fact that even though it's a big city, it's still really chill compared to New York City. And there's lots of traffic. Yeah, well, one thing, there is a ton of traffic here in Miami too. Hey, Michelle K. Good to see you, Michelle. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Ruby Falcone says, nice. Yeah, Ruby, it's really cool. So we will, I'll show you guys that a little bit later. So let's see if we could walk down here. I don't think we've ever been down here before on the stream. But then again, I don't think the internet is too good here, so we'll check it out really quick. Hey, Santo is here. Welcome, Santo. So if you guys are enjoying the stream, feel free to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Oh, check out this boat coming here. I think you can consider this a yacht, can't you? What would you guys say? Is this classified as a yacht, do you think? I think so. Ah, very cool. Jamaican flag on the back. Lady was like, see me waving, funny. ABX Heroes' baby yacht. Wow, check out the colors on this apartment building here. Yeah, Juicy says you'll have to change your name to Walks in Brickell. So we're back and forth about 50-50 between New York City and Miami. Oh, we got another boat coming through. This looks like a fishing boat, this thing. Yeah, shot by Scott. So true, right? So they gave you a physical gold crypto wallet to hold your Bitcoin in. So I think it's gold. I think it's 24 karat gold plated. So I don't think it's worth all that much. Probably only about a couple $100. I think my favorite thing about Miami is the palm trees, I think. I don't know, something about looking at the palm trees is very relaxing to me. So we will continue to walk down here until the internet goes out. Yeah, Penelope, I know. Shot by Scott. I think I watched that. I think I saw it. So during the day, you could actually sometimes see dolphins and manatees here. I'll give you one more look of the Brickell Key across the water here. Hey, Ricky M is here. The street lamps are very cool. Good to see a Ricky M. Jay says, I miss Miami very much and the smell of Miami. Yeah, it definitely smells like the ocean here for sure. Samantha R says, I love these late night walks near the water. It's beautiful out there tonight. Indeed, it is beautiful. Well, the good news is that New York City is starting to get back into spring. So hopefully it's not going to be cold anymore and the worst of the winter is behind us. So check out the moon here in between the clouds. Juicy says New York needs a serious makeover. I mean, here's one thing that I don't understand in terms of like a tax policy. So in New York City, we pay the highest taxes on earth, almost literally. But everything is not, I don't know, it's just not like clean. And I don't want to bag on New York. I love New York City. I'll always be in New York City, but there has to be some unmitigated, ridiculous corruption going on because with the amount of taxes we pay and how dirty everything is, I mean, there just has to be corruption because there's no state income tax in Florida, but the vast majority of Miami, everything is spotless, everything is really clean. And the roads are really nice too. Lady O says corruption is everywhere, 100%, you're right. Hey, Ron says, hey Tom, hello and thank you for issue number 20. Ron, thank you for reading the newsletter, much appreciated. So we wrote a quick recap of all of the main points from my conversations from the Bitcoin 2022 conference. It was an amazing experience. And one of the most interesting things about the conference is that 2 years ago, there was only 6,000 people in attendance at the Bitcoin conference. This year, there was over 25,000 people every day. And I expect that to expand every single year going forward. And the amount, one of the things that was really interesting is that the first day of the conference, no regular sort of retail, like let's say if you just bought a ticket, you weren't allowed in. The first day was only institutional investors. So you talk about hedge funds, pension funds, some sovereign wealth guys, private equity firms. Those were the only people that were able to attend the conference, as well as people that were in the press, such as myself, the first day. And the room was so packed. So if you want to talk about adoption or institutional adoption of Bitcoin, I think it is coming. The one thing that is lacking is the regulatory clarity and the regulatory scrutiny around our to allocate towards cryptocurrencies and other assets. Hey, Patricia Ivory is here. Good to see you. So there's a lot of people in New York, 10 million. How can you keep it clean? I mean, there's a lot of people here too. But I love New York. It's not a hit against New York. I'm from New York. Mark Sage says, I think you hit it right on the head regarding your tax comment. Yeah, I just don't get it. I mean, New York City takes in so much more money than Miami in terms of tax. John says, beautiful view. Good to see you, John. Jay is here. Corey says it's the people who throw their trash everywhere and don't care. Yeah, well, I mean, I guess it's really good news that, wow, check out this boat here. I guess it's really good news that Miami is not too polluted, because the water here is like invaluable. It's so beautiful here. Could you imagine if the oceans were polluted? That's really, really horrible. So I think we are in the back of the Intercontinental Hotel here. Bob says Florida is 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans. All right, let's head back because we've already been streaming for an hour and 20 minutes. And I do want to cross the bridge into Brickell. Yeah, but I think for me the two greatest cities is New York and Miami, because I think you get the best of both worlds. And I also think there's a lot of opportunities in technology down here as well. And obviously my family's in New York. And there's still a lot of financial jobs. I'm getting a call from a client. So the stream may be a little bit glitchy for the next 5 minutes, because this guy is going to absolutely hammer me for about 5 to 10 minutes. Hey, Cosmo Scary. Good to see you, my friend. Hope you're well. Cosmo, check out the Aston Martin building here. So it's this very thin building right in front of us. Hey, Mike S. says, Tom, really enjoyed your newsletter I received this morning. Hey, thank you, Mike S. Much appreciated. Very, very much appreciated, Mike S. So if anybody is not signed up to receive the Behind the Street newsletter yet, if you type !news, N-E-W-S, in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to the Behind the Street newsletter, which is a free financial newsletter I write every single week for everybody in the stream. So we'll take one more look of Brickell Key. I think this is actually Brickell. This is Brickell, this is Brickell Key. Hey, Tentacoin is here. This is Ocean Drive. Good to see you. Welcome. John, good to see you, John. Welcome. Yeah, Cosmo, I did. I ran into Action Kid earlier. Insane. So I think he lives around here. Not sure. But he did move to Miami. Patricia Ivory says, Tom, you have a really nice... Thank you so much, Patricia. John says, thank you, Tom. Thank you, John. Much appreciated. EBITDA says, what is your current portfolio allocation looking like these days? So I'm about 70% of my actively managed portfolio is in cash. And that's mainly because it's been the type of stocks in my actively managed portfolio that I trade, as you know, are a lot of the enterprise tech and disruptive technology. And these stocks are just not in gear. So I've been getting stopped out of a lot of positions. And I don't really like to style drift. I don't really like to style drift too much. So I will never buy the oil and gas names like Occidental Petroleum or Oxy. It's doing really well. I just don't want to style drift because I don't have conviction in these names. But in my IRA and my retirement accounts, I'm just long the S&P, as always. But I'm going to keep a consistent 10% weighting to Bitcoin. And regardless of the price, I'm going to trim to maintain that 10% weighting and add to maintain the 10% weighting when the price falls and fluctuates and things like that. But EBITDA, what about you? It's just, you know, what I've learned over the years is that if you have expertise in a specific industry, like if you know enterprise software like the back of your hand and you invest in those type of companies and those stocks are not in gear, it's sort of like you got to stay in your lane, especially if you're actively managing a portfolio. I just don't want to style drift and go into these oil and gas names, and now I have to change up my whole investing style to be like this big macro guy. It's just not really what I do. But EBITDA is something I think you'd be interested in. I wrote about it in the newsletter. I was talking to this guy that runs a mid-sized sized hedge fund at the Bitcoin 2022 conference. And what he's going to do, his strategy, is he wants to accumulate Bitcoin over the next 10 years and then use that Bitcoin as collateral to build out a real estate portfolio, not only in multifamily, but in storage units. So data center and storage units. And he says he wants to fund the entire thing by collateralizing his Bitcoin. And I thought it was really interesting. And he actually introduced me to a CEO of a company that's based here in Miami that issues mortgages that are backed by Bitcoin. So just really wild stuff. Really wild stuff. Disney cast member, good to see you. Hope you're feeling better. Or hope you're feeling well. EBITDA says that is smart. I'm pretty heavy in cash too. I added some energy, agricultural, and industrials. And some exposure to commodities too. I only have BTC/ETH is 5%. So EBITDA, I'm not sure if you got a chance to check out the newsletter, but dude, that conference was amazing. Like some really, really big name macro guys I had the pleasure to meet, and it was a really, really good experience. Very good experience. EBITDA says, Tom, have you heard of Delaware statutory trusts? They are pretty great. I have not, EBITDA. Let me take a screenshot of that. I have not. But EBITDA, next year, if they have the Bitcoin conference in Miami, you got to come. I'll get you in. I'll get us a press pass. Hey, Elaine says, very good quality content tonight, Tom, and image. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. So this is the Whole Foods down here. Cosmo Scary says, love the walking videos, Tom. Yeah, so Cosmo, I thought I would do more, because I was sick. I wasn't feeling too good for the past couple days. So I'm like, I'll put out walking videos, like stationary 4K walking videos to hold myself over until I could start to stream again. So yeah, if you guys want to check out 4K videos, check out the channel where we do New York City walking videos as well as Miami. EBITDA says I'm 100% down. Very cool. Hey Patty, NYC Vlogs says hello, host and everybody. Good to see you, Patty. We're attempting to cross the street at this 10-minute red light here. And we are passing the Wells Fargo Center. 007 says Musk's hostile takeover of Twitter is killing the left. Yeah, so you know what? The Elon Musk Twitter thing, it really reminds me of the old Carl Icahn days. Like Carl Icahn was a corporate raider back in the day. But then again, I think the SEC probably placed a call to Elon Musk and he's like, dude, calm down, you cannot do this. And I think that's why Elon Musk turned down the board seat to Twitter. So this is a view of the uncompleted Aston Martin building with a beautiful full moon in the background. Hey, Rich says, I enjoyed your Bitcoin 2022 article. Thank you so much. Rich, thank you for reading. I do appreciate it very, very much. Cynthia Beal says, Tom, with all your investments, do you do those on your own or do you have a financial manager? So I am all self-managed, but I think down the road I want to try to open up my own asset management company or a hedge fund, which things are in the works. Hey, Miss Brown Eyes, thank you so much for the $20 donation. You're too kind. I really do appreciate it very much. Miss Brown Eyes, very, very kind. Thank you for the support. It is much appreciated. As we are looking at the Miami Tower, or the City National Bank building. Yeah, Andy S says, I like Elon Musk's hair. John's is great view. Thank you, John. So I think my favorite company that I met with at the Bitcoin conference was a company called Blockware Solutions. And you guys can look them up on your own. But they are essentially a Bitcoin mining company where they not only custody Bitcoin mining equipment and lease it to institutional investors, they sell the ASICs miners outright. And this company is extremely profitable. They're run by an unbelievable group of kids. And I say kids because they're, everybody's under 30. But these are just really, they impressed me so much. They were the nicest people. They invited me to like this after event after the conference. And I mean, I just can't say enough about them. I think this is going to be a multi-billion-dollar company, and these people that I met with, I think they're going to be minted billionaires within their lifetime, because their company and their product and their services are unmatched. So they're called Blockware Solutions, and it's a group of engineers that used to work in management consulting and other industries. And they started their own Bitcoin mining company. And they are doing some really, really cool stuff. John, good to see you. Good to see you, John. Hope you're doing well. windy up here. Hey, Samit. Good to see you, Samit. Is it just me, or is that plane way too low? For some reason, that plane looked way too low for some reason. Hey, Patty, NYC Vlogs, as host. I'm new here, just joined your family. Well, thank you for joining. Carol H. says, hey, Tom, enjoyed your stream from the conference. Thank you, Carol. Much appreciated. So I wish I could have streamed the conference a little bit more, but I was under the weather a little bit, so I just took the time to really listen to a lot of the keynote speakers. And I had to save my energy for a lot of the events after, so. Cynthia Beal, I will do that. I gotta get the ginger tea. Yeah, NMB 045 says this is a huge plane. Looks like a Boeing 747. That thing looked massive. Forever 18 says, I think Grayscale and Hut 8 mining custody crypto. Yeah, so it's interesting that you bring that up. So Kevin O'Leary, and I actually got to meet him in person and talk to him for like 10 minutes. Really good guy, Kevin O'Leary. Just a really, really nice guy. And he was talking to me about his investments not only in Bitcoin, but in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency mining. And here's what he said. He's like, the SEC came out with a potential mandate, so it's not law, but it's a potential mandate that any publicly traded company will have to, in addition to disclosing financial audits every quarter, they will have to disclose a carbon audit. So that's crazy. So the SEC says if you're a publicly traded company in America, you're not only going to have to disclose financial audits every quarter, but we want to make you, it's not law yet, it's not set in stone, but they want to make publicly traded companies in America disclose carbon audits. So if you think about the oil and gas industry, if you think about the Bitcoin mining industry, the way these companies stay quote unquote carbon neutral is they buy carbon offsets. So if you're a company, if you're a big oil company and you pollute a lot, right? Obviously they do, you know, the flaring of gas and things like that. The way you maintain carbon neutral is you buy different carbon offsets. So maybe you buy like a mangrove or something like that to say, hey, we're polluting, but we're preserving this, you know, part of the rainforest in, you know, whatever country. That's not going to fly anymore. And the reason why he said that is because no auditor will ever sign off on a carbon audit for carbon credit, because there's just too much discrepancy there. So I think that's going to be a really, really big piece to say, look, if you want Bitcoin mining, if you want these companies to gain capital and go public in the equity capital markets, you're going to need to mine cryptocurrency with only renewable energy, and that is entirely possible. Because the vast majority of dams that were built in the United States, they were actually contemplating building hydro turbines, but they never did. And now that all of these mining companies are so flush with cash, they have no problem investing a couple $billion to build a lot of these hydro turbines. So not only will they be able to buy Bitcoin, but they'll be able to sell energy back to the grid. So I think that's going to be a huge area of opportunity for hydroelectric power. Hey, I see Eric Kaufman here. Good to see you. We got a Tesla. I think this is one of my favorite Teslas here. Eric Kaufman, good to see you, my friend. A guy in back bay says, Tom, is the SEC a criminal organization? Oh my God, no comment. TD, this is where you at. So this is the W Hotel, but this is the parking garage. But good to see you. Michelle McGraw is here. Good to see you, Michelle. Yeah, Wendy says Shell is almost 90%. Well, a lot of oil and gas companies are actually using the flaring of gas. That is horrible for the environment. They're actually converting that energy to mine cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Yo, Action Kid. Good to meet you, my friend, Action Kid. So that was the first time I met the one and only AK in person. So pleasure meeting you, my friend. This is W Hotel and Icon Brickell building. Columns always trip me out. Good to see you, AK. Hey, Dow Jones says everyone needs to learn Ethereum and DeFi piece. Yeah, Dow Jones. So they talked a lot about that at the conference. And I think the biggest thing about DeFi is you could actually earn yield. So Dan Tapiero used to run money under Stanley Druckenmiller, which is pretty much all time, Stanley Druckenmiller. And essentially what Dan was saying during his keynote speech, because he runs a lot of money for sovereign wealth funds and pension funds, and he said there's a $200 trillion market for fixed income and cash. So the fixed income market and the cash market is a $200 trillion industry, which is actually it's a dead asset, right? But if you think about the traditional 60-40 portfolio in finance, which is 60% of the portfolio is in equities or stocks, and 40% of the portfolio is in bonds, well, that used to work back in the day when you could actually garner yield. But now the vast majority of all of the debt in the world is actually negative yielding debt. So what Dan was saying at the conference is he's like, look, a lot of these sovereign wealth funds and other, I guess, institutional investors, they want to gain access to take some of their allocation that went into bonds or fixed income and allocate that towards Bitcoin. Here's the problem. They can't do that because there's virtually no regulatory clarity or regulatory oversight in the United States, but all of that is coming. So could you imagine a $200 trillion market of fixed income and cash? Could you imagine if Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in general, or DeFi projects like Dow Jones said, could capture just 1% of that 200 trillion market? You do the math. I mean, it's all upside. But there needs to be conclusive regulatory clarity from the SEC. I mean, in my opinion, I thought we would have already had a Bitcoin ETF by now. And I know what many of you are thinking. Well, Tom, we already have a Bitcoin ETF. I get it, but here's the key difference. The ETFs, or exchange traded funds we have right now in relation to Bitcoin, are derivative based or futures based ETFs. So they're essentially double derivative products. So if you want to buy a Bitcoin ETF, you're not going to gain any of the exposure to the underlying asset. You're essentially buying a product that speculates on the price of the futures contracts over Bitcoin. We do not actually have a spot Bitcoin ETF, which is essentially, when we talk about spot, that means it actually owns the physical asset itself. And Gary Gensler at the SEC has not yet approved a spot Bitcoin ETF, but it is coming. NNB 045 says fixed income and Bitcoin are not the same level of risk though. Well, I mean, what's the risk with fixed income? I mean, it's negative yielding debt, right? So let's say if you have 40% of your portfolio in fixed income, what if you knock that exposure level down to, let's say, 30% in fixed income, and you put 10% in Bitcoin, which is probably going to appreciate over time, and you could probably lend it out for a yield or collateralize it. Would that work? Maybe. maybe. Because right now, what Marcelo Clarer, which is actually my old CEO, I actually used to work for the guy, and Dan, essentially what they said in Orlando Bravo, which owns Thoma Bravo, which is a private equity firm, essentially what they said is these are all dead assets, right? These are all dead assets, and it's all negative yielding debt. But until there's actually regulatory clarity, there's really no institutions in cryptocurrency. You may have like a mid-sized hedge fund that runs like 150 million bucks, or one that runs like 500, half a billion, but you don't have like the big guys, which are the sovereign wealth, big sovereign wealth funds. Yeah, Action Kids says, I think there's an Ethereum ETF, but it's on the pink sheets. I think there is too, but I don't think it's custodied in the United States, is it? It could be, I'm not sure. But Action Kid, here's the thing, I was talking to one of my really good friends about this at the conference. Why would you, like for the average person, I mean, if you're not a high net worth individual, you should probably just be buying the underlying asset, because with ETF products, especially attached to Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, you get only like 90% of the upside, but like 160% of the downside. It's just a horrible, horrible trade-off. So especially, that's why I'm not a big fan of GBTC. And GBTC is the Grayscale Bitcoin Investment Trust. Now, it's not an ETF, it's an investment trust. But with GBTC, you pretty much get nothing. You get like 80% of the upside and like 160% of the downside. Dow Jones is the mainstream media's FUD crypto. It's digital cash. They don't like cash. Good to see you, Dow Jones. So I think that if the United States can get behind stable coins, like to have like a US dollar stable coin where you could trade it just like a money market mutual fund, then I think that's when things will start to get rocking. Excuse me. Action Kid says it's the same thing with the leveraged ETF. They're all designed to go to zero mathematically. Yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah, so what Action Kid said is 100% spot on. So a lot of the times you'll have like these triple leveraged ETFs. But the issue there is they're really meant to be used as hedging tools and trading tools. But some people hold them for the long term. But mathematically, if you have a leveraged product, which means there has to be derivative exposure there, obviously, these are all going to go to zero. But they're meant to go to zero over time. But some people just hold on to them, which is kind of crazy. I gotta get some water. Wendy England says, Tom, do you mind if I send your Behind the Street newsletter to a group of people? Not at all. Please feel free to share it. That would help me out a lot. I really like writing it. I really enjoy writing. So if you want to share the Behind the Street newsletter with your family and your friends, feel free to do it. And if you want to sign up, if you type !news, NEWS, the Nightbot will drop the link to sign up. Ruby Falcone, thank you so much for joining tonight. It was a pleasure. I had a good time. So thank you, my good friend Ruby. Roy S. says, we are approaching April 19th, the anniversary of this channel. Wow. That's insane, Roy. Well, I think I started the channel April 19th, but I think I started live streaming in May, I think. I gotta check. So here we have EBITDA's Tower. Lady O says, yes, we started streaming in May. Yeah, Al Baker says my newsletter is still going to the spam folder. So I contacted Review, and they don't know what the problem is, so I think I'm going to migrate over to Substack. Because a lot of people tell me that. They're like, the newsletter goes to my spam folder, and I don't know why that is. Hey, Deja Vu, good to see you, my friend. Welcome. Juicy says, Tom, Miami looks like Japan. Does it? I've never been to Japan, but I would really like to go to Japan. Cindy Foley, thank you for reading, much appreciated. Dow Jones is not taking profit is the biggest form of FOMO, in my opinion. Agreed. Hey, Strider1239 says, do you think you'll ever move out of New York City? Probably not. I think the main two places I want to live is New York and Miami, Florida. Those are my favorite two places on earth. So I think that's where I'll stay. I mean, look, New York has its problems, Miami has its problems, but I still enjoy it. I still enjoy both places. WW says you're on a Tinder date right now. Oh my God. WW, enjoy your time. But I mean, I appreciate you choosing the stream over your Tinder date. He's probably not that interesting if you're choosing us over the Tinder date. But I appreciate you choosing to watch us and hang out with us in the chat. Much appreciated. But that's too funny. Hey, Vinny Castellano, what's up? Vinny Castellano is my good friend from Staten Island. Good to see you, Vinny, and please tell Maria I said hello. So good to see you, Vinny Castellano. Hey, Miami Walking and Driving Tours says, hey Tom, people can put your newsletter email as an accepted address, and it should start going to their inbox. Ah, got it. Say again?
Is that roll-up?
It's called a gimbal. So it like stabilizes the...
No, it's a buddy of mine started the company.
Oh, nice. Herbert Daughtry, thank you so much for the $5 donation. You are way too kind, and I appreciate you. Says the newsletter went to the promotions folder of my Gmail account. What a great read from a sharp young mind. Thank you so much, Herbert. Much appreciated. So Herbert, thank you for the donation and thank you for reading. I think one of my goals for 2022 is to become a better writer. I haven't really been good at writing, so I think that writing the newsletter will help with that. I believe that if you want to get better at something, the best way to get better at it is just by doing the art of whatever it is. So if I write 52 newsletters in a year, I would assume that the 52nd newsletter is probably going to be a little bit better incrementally than the first one, at least I hope. But thank you, Herbert, for that. TD says, what's your favorite thing about Miami? Why did you choose to live there? Great question. Number one, the weather is fantastic. So I really like the hot weather. This place is actually really good. Action Kid, if you're watching. I'm not sure if you're still watching. But I go to this place all the time when I go to the office. This place is actually really good. So I think the weather is probably number one. But number two is I work in enterprise tech sales, and there's a big technology boom here. So I have some clients here, some coworkers or like contractors here. So I think it's a good environment for me to be around. I believe that, like, if you're a doctor, you want to hang around fellow doctors, right? If you're an investment banker, you want to hang around fellow investment bankers and try to get better. But if you work in tech, you want to hang out around fellow technologists. And I think a lot of the startup culture and investment is coming to Miami, so I sort of wanted to get here on the ground floor level and see what it's all about. Hey, Eric, says Tom, you ever go to skate underneath the Manhattan Bridge? Yes. So when I was in college, I used to skate at that park all the time, and I saw some wild, wild things there, which we will talk about on another stream. But some wild things there, man. Yo, Action Kid, you've been there. Says, yeah, I love that place. That place is good, man. But you know what's crazy, AK? I think it's maybe a little bit more expensive than New York City. But that place is a solid place, but it's expensive. At least what I got. I think I got, what did I get? But so I have a teeny tiny office here in the WeWork building. So sometimes I eat at that place. Very, very good food. All right, so now we are headed into Brickell. No, Mary Brickell Village. Penelope, thank you so much. Very kind of you, Penelope. Eric, good to see you. Yeah, I'd say Miami has a really nice mix of warm weather and a technology environment. And before, you know, you can never really get a lot of work done in Miami because this place is paradise. But now there's more of that sort of New York culture where it's very competitive. And that's the environment I like to be in. So during the day, this place here in Mary Brickell Village, Brickell, is filled with all young professionals. So I think that's where I want to be. And if I ever want to go back to New York, I have friends there, I have clients. So, the Mighty Bull, good to see you. NMB 045 says, Tom, I'm visiting New York City first week of June. Finally, dude, awesome, man. You know what, NMB 045? I may be in New York the first week of June. I may be in New York the first week of June. Well, let me rephrase that. Philadelphia and then New York. WW, good to see you. Marcus says, I need to get back down there to do some photography. So Marcus, if you want to do some photography in Miami, you gotta follow Shot by Scott. So he is in the chat. And he's a really, really good photographer here in the 305. So feel free to look up Shot by Scott. He shoots some amazing, amazing work here in Wynwood. Hey, 61 says, hola, Tom. What's up, 61? Good to see you. So this is South Miami Avenue, and this is the KPMG building and the WeWork building. Hey, 61 says, I'm watching from Miami Lakes. Very cool, thank you for watching, much appreciated. Hey, Dante Rose is here. What's up, Dante? Good to see you. Bagels and Walks, good to see you. So everybody, my phone may die, so for just a quick recap, tonight we briefly covered the three main topics that I took away from the Bitcoin 2022 conference. So as I was walking around talking to a lot of institutional investors, hedge fund managers, pension fund managers, the three value propositions that they saw in Bitcoin was, number one, how can Bitcoin have the possibility or the potential to revolutionize the global remittance market? So we talked about that. And obviously remittances is when you work in a foreign country and you send your money back to your homeland. So remittance payments. Oh, check out the fish in here. Can you guys see that? Yeah, Vinny Castellano, I saw that what happened in Brooklyn. It's horrible, terrible. So number one was remittances. Number two, Bitcoin is the only unconfiscatable store of value in history. The only asset that is unconfiscatable. Obviously, during the Great Depression in the United States, the government confiscated every single American's gold. It was illegal to own gold during the Great Depression. So Bitcoin is an unconfiscatable store of value. If you have your own private keys, nobody could steal your Bitcoin. It is absolutely impossible. And last but not least, hold on, I just want to show you guys, I think one of the oldest bars in America. Hey, CC is here. This is Miami, a beautiful night. Good to see you, CC. Cindy Foley says, good night all and be safe. Thank you, Cindy. Much appreciate you joining tonight. Much appreciated. Sabrina Fair says, blockchain and cryptocurrency won't be mainstream until it's regulated. Agreed, 100,000%. You're spot on there. FredX says, thanks for the walk, Tom. Thank you, FredX. Appreciate you joining tonight. And the last but not least is Bitcoin will be able to provide a way for the underbanked and the way to have access to currency and access to a store of value. Because if you think about Bitcoin on a macro level, on a macro scale, the vast majority of the world, or a large portion of the world, is actually underbanked. They do not have access to a traditional banking system, but they do have access to a cell phone, and if you do have access to a smartphone, you have access to Bitcoin. So if you guys want to know a little bit more about all these topics, if you type !news NEWS in the chat, the Nightbot will drop the link to the Behind the Street newsletter where I did write a complete recap of the conference. We do have to end the stream because the phone is going to die, but I appreciate everybody joining tonight. Very, very much appreciated. I want everybody to have a great week. We are headed towards the tail end of the week, so please finish strong. So John, thank you. Jaro, thank you. Abdullah, British Grey, TD, Oil Wealth, thank you so much for joining. If you guys want to continue the conversation, please join our Discord. If you check the links in the description, you could join the Discord where we talk about all of these interesting things almost every single day. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the stream tonight, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. And to the Mighty Bull, have a good night wherever you are, because there is always a bull market somewhere, and you just need to know where to look. And I'll see everybody right back here in Magic City tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody.